The film opens in the rugged, fog-shrouded peaks of British Columbia's Forbidden Wall, 1959. A lone climber, weathered and breathless, claws his way to the summit. His face, etched with exhaustion, lights up with fleeting triumph before a sudden jolt yanks his guide rope upward. "No! No! No!" he gasps, his voice cracking with panic as he fumbles with the taut line. The camera lingers on his trembling hands, the rope vibrating unnaturally as if pulled by an invisible force. His screams echo into the void as the screen cuts to black, leaving only the howling wind. This chilling moment sets the tone for The Sound, a supernatural horror film that promises dread but struggles to deliver. Fast forward to 2022. The Forbidden Wall, long closed to climbers after the mysterious disappearance of the 1959 expedition, is now accessible. A team of seasoned climbers, led by the pragmatic and driven Colton, Nicholas Barati, gathers to conquer the infamous peak. Among them is Sean, Mark Hills, a stoic mountaineer whose grandfather was part of the lost 1959 party. Sean's motivation is personal, closure for a family tragedy that's haunted him for years. "I need to know what happened up there," Sean confides to his teammate Rachel in a quiet moment at base camp, his voice heavy with unresolved grief. Rachel nods, gripping his shoulder. "We'll find it, Sean. For him." The team's camaraderie is laced with climbing jargon. Talk of cams, nuts, and belays flows naturally, though occasionally punctuated by forced banter. "For show, let's send this beast," quips Take, Tom Reynolds, earning eye rolls from the others. The film spends considerable time on these pre-climb scenes, introducing the team's dynamics and their meticulous preparations. We see them checking ropes, packing mid-air tents, and studying weathered maps of the wall. But the dialogue often feels like filler, slowing the narrative. A shadowy government agent, Agent Kessler, briefly appears at their campsite, warning Colton about the wall's dangers. "People don't come back from that place," she says cryptically, her eyes darting to the mist-covered peaks. Colton brushes her off, his confidence bordering on arrogance. "We're not amateurs." As the team begins their ascent, the Forbidden Wall looms as a character in itself, jagged, imposing, and shrouded in unnatural fog. The climbers split into pairs, with Sean and Rachel tackling the northern face, while Jake and Sarah, Megan Carter, take the eastern route. The film's visuals capture the precariousness of their climb, boots scraping against sheer rock, hands grasping for holds, and ropes swaying in the wind. The sound design, creaking ice, distant rock falls, and an eerie, unplaceable hum amplifies the tension. Sean, haunted by his grandfather's fate, is hyper-vigilant. During a rest on a narrow ledge, he pulls out a faded photograph of his grandfather, a young climber with a determined smile. "He made it to the summit," Sean mutters, his voice tinged with both pride and dread. Rachel, clipping her carabiner, tries to lighten the mood. "He'd be proud, Sean. You're finishing what he started." But the moment is cut short by a strange noise, a low, guttural rumble from above. The team freezes, exchanging uneasy glances. "Just the wind," Colton calls over the radio, but his voice wavers. Halfway up, the supernatural elements emerge. Jake and Sarah on the eastern face encounter their first obstacle. A sudden, violent tremor shakes the wall. "Hold on," Sarah screams, clinging to her rope as loose rocks cascade past. Jake, dangling below, shouts, "This ain't normal, Sarah!" The camera pans to their guide rope, which begins to twitch and pull upward, mirroring the 1959 flashback. Sarah's eyes widen in terror. It's moving," she cries, her voice breaking as she hacks at the rope with her ice axe. The sequence is tense, but abruptly edited, cutting away before the threat fully materializes, leaving viewers wanting more. Back on the northern face, Sean and Rachel face their own eerie encounter. As they set up a mid-air tent for the night, a flock of ravens circles unnaturally close, their caws echoing like warnings. Rachel shudders, pulling her jacket tighter. "I don't like this, Sean. Something's watching us." Sean, trying to stay grounded, dismisses it. "Focus, Rachel. We've got enough to worry about."
But his bravado falters when he notices carvings on the rock face, ancient, spiraling symbols that seem to pulse faintly in the moonlight. The film lingers on these moments, hinting at a deeper mystery, but never fully explores them, leaving the symbol's significance frustratingly vague.
Making it to the wind up like Megan. Remember the quote. This is Sean, I hear you. Not far from you, just below. Long story. Concentrate over.
At base camp, Sean takes a late-night walk to clear his head, only to be startled by Chief Gaiestes, Wayne Charles Baker, a local indigenous elder who emerges from the shadows. Sean, the chief says, his voice calm but commanding. Sean, startled, demands, "How do you know my name?" The chief's response is cryptic. "The ravens told me you were out for a walk." The line, meant to be mystical, lands as unintentionally comical, evoking a caricature of indigenous wisdom. The chief warns Sean about the wall, claiming it's a place of spirits that takes what it wants. Sean, skeptical but shaken, retorts, "I'm here for answers, not ghost stories." The chief's cliched dialogue and stereotypical portrayal undermine the scene's potential, making it feel like a missed opportunity to deepen the film's lore. As the team progresses, the supernatural threats escalate, but the film struggles to maintain momentum. On the eastern face, Jake and Sarah are separated when a sudden fog engulfs them. Jake's radio crackles with static, and he shouts, "Sarah, where are you?" only to hear a distorted whisper in response. Not Sarah's voice, but something guttural and inhuman. The camera cuts jarringly between Jake's panicked climb and Sarah's desperate attempts to reconnect her rope, but the sequence feels fragmented, with too many close-ups obscuring the action. Meanwhile, Sean and Rachel face a harrowing moment when their guide rope snaps, leaving them dangling. Sean's quick thinking saves them. He jams a cam into a crack and secures a new line, his hands shaking as he yells, "I've got you, Rachel!" The scene is a highlight, showcasing the climber's resourcefulness and the raw danger of the wall. However, the film undercuts this tension with a flashback to Sean's childhood, where his father recounts his. At the summit, the team reunites, but the promised horror falls flat. The supernatural force, revealed as a vaguely defined entity tied to the wall's ancient carvings, manifests as glowing mists and shadowy figures. The visuals are underwhelming, relying on cheap CGI that dissipates the mystery built earlier. Colton, now frantic, shouts, "We shouldn't have come here," as the entity pulls at their ropes. But the threat feels repetitive and lacks stakes. Rachel, ever practical, tries to rally the group. "We can't panic. We climb down now." But the entity's attacks are too sporadic, and the film leans on jump scares, a sudden hand grabbing a rope, a fleeting shadow, rather than sustained dread. The most satisfying moments come from the climber's problem solving. Sean, recalling his grandfather's journal, realizes the entity is drawn to their equipment. "It's the metal," he yells, tossing his carabiners into a crevasse. The team follows suit, abandoning their gear to weaken the entity's grip. The sequence, though brief, captures the ingenuity and desperation that make climbing compelling, but it's too little too late. The descent is chaotic, with the team battered by both the entity and the wall's natural dangers. Jake, injured from a fall, grimaces through the pain, muttering, "Not dying here, not today." As Sarah, supporting him, snaps, "Then move, Jake." Their banter, though cliched, grounds their humanity. Sean, grappling with his grandfather's legacy, finds a hidden cave with more carvings, suggesting the entity is an ancient guardian. The discovery feels rushed, and the film ends abruptly with the surviving climbers reaching base camp, haunted but alive. Agent Kessler reappears, confiscating their footage and warning them to stay silent. "The wall keeps its secrets," she says, her tone ominous but hollow. Sean staring at the faded photo of his grandfather. The sound tantalizes with its premise, a haunted mountain climb steeped in history and supernatural dread, but falters in execution. The film's strongest moments are its procedural climbing scenes and fleeting glimpses of terror, like the taut rope in the opening flashback or Sean's desperate cam placement. However, excessive backstory, cliched dialogue, and underwhelming effects dilute the horror. The climber's specialized lingo and problem-solving hint at a more compelling story, but the film never fully exploits these elements, leaving viewers dangling like its characters, full of anticipation but ultimately unfulfilled.